Hello.
Oh, hi. Sorry. 1 second. Do over. Sorry. I'm memeing on the Jets. 1 second. And welcome to the Pride of Detroit podcast. PrideOfDetroit.com. Pride of Detroit on Twitter. Pride of Detroit on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You know where to find us. We're doing it live every Sunday after the Lions game. Sometimes I think next week we'll do it on Saturday, Jeremy. Are you going to plan to do it on Saturday?
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll do it
after every game in the offseason on Saturday and Monday. Throughout the week, we're bringing you live stuff. So subscribe, follow us on Twitch and YouTube. Get those notifications when we go live. Or conversely, download the podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Listen at your convenience. Listen at regular speed, slow speed, fast speed, whatever you want to do. Listen, just listen. Do it. Do it live. And we're here to talk about the Detroit Lions. We're going to make this a little bit of a short one this week. We've been trying to cut down on time just because we're putting out so much content here, so much determination between me, the adequate host, Chris Perfett, as Chris Perfett, Perfett, as I sit here finishing off some whiskey and reveling in the Jets. Winning, but not winning, I think is probably the adequate way to put it. And with me, as always, my nemesis, the fearless leader, Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online, who already Twitch chat has returned 8,000 channel points and demanding he puts on the mozzarella stick shirt.
I'll do that eventually. I have it right here, but yes, I'm so much your nemesis that you almost forgot my name. That's a very nemesis move of you.
Yes. Well,
yes.
I have to play it cool, like Daniel Craig. I just don't know which Daniel Craig yet. Probably more like the guy from Knives Out who thinks everything is a donut. Let's talk about this game, Jeremy, because actually, is there even much to talk about? I say that, and then I think, yeah, but we are committed to talk about this game. And we do have, I think, 4 bullet points from this game I do want to talk about. But on this podcast, we're also going to be talking a lot about the general manager search. If you've been following us, we've been interviewing we've been interviewing individual people throughout the week, been doing shorter podcasts, individual candidates for the general manager and the coaching search. We just did one on Rick Smith. Go and download that. And we're going to be talking about him and 2 other people later on this podcast because the Lions are interviewing 3 candidates this week.
Yeah, huge week.
We are going to give you something we never do on this podcast, our opinion. Yeah, I know, right?
Whoa.
Like, oh my God, these guys actually have opinions and they're not just vessels for telling us what we want to know so you can go get jacked up on Kool-Aid. So we're going to give you our opinions on these guys and talk about who they're even talking about. We'll bring them down. But first, Jeremy, we start on the game of the day. As the Lions get... I want to think about this. So my guy, Brian Fenley at Fox Sports Radio, always loves his adverbs, verbiage, adjectives when talking about a team losing. And he likes synonyms for vomiting. So we're going to say the Lions upchuck this game, 46-25 Tennessee Titans. However, a good impressive day from Stafford, who we didn't think would play, but he played, man. Yeah. Damn, did he play.
And I think that has to be really the storyline of the game because nothing else was that surprising that happened other than Stafford. I think we entered the week last week thinking it's probably done for the season. Sounds like a very, very painful injury. Might not have broken ribs, but cartilage damage doesn't sound like anything that's too fun. I wake up with a bad shoulder after, sleeping on the wrong side, and I feel like I have to be out for 3 weeks. This guy suffers rib cartilage damage, has every excuse to say, you know what, let me shut it down. And he's like, no. He tested on Friday during practice. He's like, you know what, I got this. He comes out, and it was an interesting game for him because I think in that first half, he made a lot of safe passes to start the game, made a lot of safe reads, had a couple opportunities to go deep, didn't take them, checked it down, and it was working. But then once Lions started, getting further and further down, it became more and more apparent we needed hero ball from Matthew Stafford, and he accepted it. He went downfield. He threw a beautiful pass to Hunter Bryant. He threw a beautiful pass to Quintez Cephus. And I thought it was a fantastic game for him, and it was fun for a while. I mean, this game was close midway through the third quarter, and it was almost 100% because of Matthew Stafford, because you look around, everyone around him was making mistakes. The defense was its god-awful self. The offensive skill players were fumbling the ball away or dropping the ball or whatever it is. And so, I mean, story of Matthew Stafford's career, goes out, plays hero ball while injured, and it's not even close to enough because this Titans team is really, really good, and this Lions team is very, very bad.
Yeah, listen, if you want any indication that quarterbacks are not the gods of football and are not here to save your bacon at the end of the day, look no further than and quarterbacks aren't there to save your bacon. Look no further than Stafford going out there, throwing his heart out, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. He eventually gets pulled in the game. Chase Daniel gets put in. He takes about 5 hits on the day. So I think at that point, that's the point where it's like, okay, this was cool. This was fun. He gets to assuage his ego, but that's enough. That's kind of enough. Football players are like hockey players in that regard, right, Jeremy? Like, these guys just want to just go out there no matter what and scrap. Certain quarterbacks, and Stafford belongs to this category. Like Ben Roethlisberger does this all the time too, right? Where there's some guys out there who is like, hey, you tell them you got to take a day off, and they'll be like, what's that?
Right.
And that's what Stafford is. You kind of have to drag him, for better or worse, away from it. And I think there is a legitimate question from this game about whether or not Stafford should have played. I mean, me as a fan, I want to see him play. Because as you say, that's a cool story.
Yep.
That's a cool story. We root for stories in sports, for better or worse. We want to see people be heroes more than selfish, greedy people or villains or whatever. And that's great. That's fantastic as a fan. But I think if you're someone who is probably looking at the long-term health of the Lions, or even the prospect of potentially, Stafford's trade value or anything else, you have to ask yourself, was it really the right move to put him out there against the Tennessee Titans, who's one of the stronger teams in the league right now with a hellacious defense? And I mean, we do, I'll let you go on, but like, we do have the problem in that there's no one in the front office or in the coaching staff who is ready to go out there and say that, because they're all kind of, auditioning for different jobs right now.
Right, yeah. You say someone who's got the Lions' future in mind needs to consider taking him off the field. Problem is, no one in the Lions organization right now has the future in mind, because no one's job is guaranteed through the new year outside of Chris Spielman and Sheila Ford Hamp. And there are definitely some people that are going to stick around. Sounds like Mike Disner's probably going to stick around since he's involved in the GM search, but all these people benefit from the Lions playing well right now. And so Matthew Stafford, even with the hurt ribs, it appears he gives the Lions the best chance. All respect due to Chase Daniel. He played pretty well in the small amount that he played in this game, but it's still Matthew Stafford. And I'm not usually one to make this argument, but don't you kind of owe it to Stafford a little bit to make his own decision here? I mean, what else has this franchise given him? Nothing. Haven't given him a defense, haven't given him a run game, haven't given him a playoff win, haven't given him any sort of help. So in what could be his dying days as a Detroit Lion, if he wants to play and the doctors say you can play, you know what? Let him play.
I respect that. I would also say that I think, like any good legal counsel, sometimes what you perceive to be your best interest probably aren't your best interest either at the same time. 100%. So I don't know if Stafford needs the buddy going out there, go up and F him up, Socrates, or if he needs, as your attorney, I would advise you this.
Right.
It's one or the other. So you can either have the let's go out there and be legends man, or the think of the long term to them. So I don't know what it is for Stafford. Clearly he chose the form.
Right. And this is a kind of quote that will endear people to Matthew Stafford, rightfully or wrongfully, but here's what he had to say about playing this week and why he wanted to play so bad. Quote, "Because I'm the quarterback of the Detroit Lions and it was Sunday, and I got a bunch of teammates that work their ass off. They fight to be available and fight to get out there and play and try to help us win. If there's any way I can play, I'm never going to not. I feel like I owe it to those guys. I owe it to the game. I owe it to this organization, everybody. If I'm good enough to play, healthy enough to play, my ass is going to be out there. I felt like I was good enough to play. That's why I wanted to be out there."
You heard it here first, folks. Matthew Stafford. I'm never gonna not.
I'm never gonna not.
Why don't you put that on a t-shirt, Jeremy? We could probably go tell the t-shirt people to put that on a t-shirt. That sounds like put that with the angry Stafford face on there. Just I'm never gonna not, or whatever the quote is. Like
I'm never gonna not.
That sounds like a winner.
I'm never gonna not.
That's a life lesson right there, folks. I'm never gonna not. Let's talk about some smaller people besides Stafford out there. Not smaller people. I hate. Why'd I even say that? Smaller stuff. Other notes from it, because let me just put this right away. We're setting the defense aside.
They're bad. The end. We're done with it.
The end. There's nothing to say here, folks.
We don't need to talk about Jelani Tavai for the 10th straight week and how bad he is.
Yeah. Romeo Okwara, you had like a bullet of a sack on Ryan Tannehill, but that was kind of like you had some bad plays too, so that's kind of more like your 50-50 play going on there. But I do want to talk about some of the other guys on the day. So I think two of the big stories. Do you want to start with Marvin Jones or DeAndre Swift?
Let's go with Marvin Jones. They're both pretty positive, but yeah, let's start with Marvin Jones.
So I thought Marvin Jones had a huge day. He had over 100 yards catching. And I think the big story is, as you look at him with an expiring contract, is, it's all about the future for us as fans right now in Detroit. And I think the big thing for Marvin Jones is with how productive he's been down the stretch, especially in Darrell Bevell's system, as he's been kind of let off the chain, as it were, as to how valuable Marvin Jones might be to this organization moving forward. So I guess, I'm starting to see some fans saying, pays that man his money. But I don't know. He's kind of he's in his 30s now. He's kind of, he's had years where he's just kind of vanished from stat sheets.
Yeah. Now
and then. I'm maybe this is sour grapes from me, just remembering his time when he was in Cincinnati and also my fantasy teams. But, I think there is question as to what kind of role Marvin Jones will play in the future in Detroit if you do sign him to Detroit, if he is worth that kind of contract money.
Yeah, and I think prior to maybe even just this week, I feel like everyone just kind of assumed Marvin Jones was gone, and understandably so. He's going to be, 31, 32 next year. Mm-hmm. The Lions got pretty much all they could get out of him in these 5 years that they've had him. I thought it was one of Bob Quinn's better signings, and it was one of his first. And then, these last couple games, he's played really well. He put up 116 against the Bears, 48 against the Packers, and then 10 catches for 112 and a touchdown again today. But you brought up a really good point. Like, he goes through these droughts, these dry spells that I think we easily forget in the moment. Like, do you want me to read his yardage in the first 5 weeks of the season? 55 yards,
not good.
23 yards, 51 yards, 9 yards, 8 yards. He had a 39 in there, a 43. And granted, the Lions, spread the ball out quite a bit, and he's not going to get all those opportunities. And a lot of those games were with Kenny Golladay in the game. But that kind of goes to show you, like, he's a wide receiver too at this point in his career, and maybe he always was. And I would say he's upper to mid tier of a wide receiver too. And I think he's working his way into a well-sized contract. Nothing like the 18, 19, 20 million that Kenny Golladay is asking for. And obviously Kenny Galladay's presence in this organization, I think, is going to play a big part in whether Marvin Jones stays.
That's the other fly in the ointment, because the Lions are probably going to have to choose between Golladay and Jones.
It does kind of feel that way. And so would you rather either put Kenny Golladay on the franchise tag or sign him to a long-term deal worth 18, 19, 20 million? Or would you rather re-sign, Marvin Jones to something more manageable, like a 3-year, $33 million deal or something like, 11, 12 million a year, and then maybe go out and get a guy high in, first or second day of the draft? That either way, both those kind of options have, a positive too. I'm not getting thrilled with the Marvin Jones extension, the idea of an extension, but at the same time, he's a rock solid receiver in terms of those contested catches. I'm just looking for something a little more exciting in that Lions wide receiver group, and Kenny Golladay is certainly more exciting. So is a young draftee, and I think maybe a draftee is on the board no matter who they decide to keep, even if they keep both. But it's kind of a conundrum.
We've also talked about speed, and I'd like to start seeing some receivers on the Lions who can create some separation between themselves and their coverage. And Marvin Jones just does not fit that bill.
Nope.
At the end of the day, as you say, he's a contested catch kind of guy, which is fine. You can make your money that way. Marvin Jones has made his money that way. But if you want the future, which is speed, you probably need someone different than Marvin Jones.
Galladay's not really either that guy either, though.
No, he's not.
At least not yet.
But
he's still young. Though.
Yeah, and Quintez Cephas is young. I know he had a catch here. That's still a lottery scratcher. We still have to see how Cephas develops.
Yep, 100%.
So, now let's go to DeAndre Swift. We're also going to talk TJ Hawkinson real quick, but I want to get to Swift because I want to make sure he gets some time here because, listen, I would caution fans about focusing on the big mistake. Because once again, it's kind of like the first game of the year, Jeremy, where it's like he's had a decent game, but then has a hellacious drop in the end zone. Likewise, here, the goal line fumble, it's a backbreaker. Who knows how the game goes if he doesn't botch that? But I mean, man, he was productive the rest of the day. He's everything you want out of a running back. And I think I've harped on this in years past too. Like running backs, kind of like at a lot of other positions in the NFL, they have quiet rookie years. They don't just come out here and just blow the doors off right away. I think I've talked before about Adrian Peterson's rookie year being kind of whatever. Derrick Henry, who the Lions saw today, only had like shy of 500 yards in his rookie year. They were using DeAndre Swift very conservatively under Matt Patricia. Now they're kind of like letting him go a little bit and feeling it out. But I think, I wouldn't throw it out right now. I want to see him develop. And I don't think this mistake should define him. And I think people should really be looking into just, what Swift can bring to the table. He's versatile. The only thing he really can't do is probably like, if you ask him to go up the middle on a third and inches, like that's probably not his style, but everything else.
Yeah, it's
he could develop into that.
Absolutely. And I do think when you draft a running back as high as they did, 35th overall pick, there is a certain expectation in your rookie year there, and fair or not, you're expected to explode. You're expected to contend for, offensive rookie of the year. If you're a skill position drafted in the top 40, you're expected to at least contend. And I don't think DeAndre Swift was ever really given a fair chance in his rookie year here in Detroit because, like you said, Matt Patricia kind of conservatively used him. Swift also dealt with an injury in training camp.
Pitch count, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and part of it was probably injury related. Part of it was because Patricia is very much in the running back by committee thing, but now we've seen him start a couple games, and he's been quite productive. I mean, really all season he's been productive. 4.6 yards per carry. He was 4.5 yards per carry today against Tennessee. 2 touchdowns, another 15 in the receiving game. If there's one thing I've really been disappointed with him in his rookie season, it's been that receiving game. He hasn't been necessarily the big mismatch that I've been hoping for. He also doesn't have a ton of big runs. I think he really only has one beyond 20 yards. But still, I'm reserving judgment because I've seen more good than bad out of Swift, and yes, like you mentioned, some of those bad they just came in very monumental moments, whether it's on the goal line, whether it's fourth quarter, last play of the game type of thing. But overall, I mean, all you need to know that makes me excited for DeAndre Swift is that late touchdown he scored, and maybe you guys had already turned off the game by then, but he made a nasty cut on a Titans defender on that 6-yard touchdown run, and that's the kind of thing that I need to see. He's able to kick it out. In an instant, that short area quickness to kick it outside, and you want to see him able to run between the tackles, and I think he can, but he's been so good on those outside runs, and considering the Lions have a pretty darn good tackle on that left side in Taylor Decker, I think that's something you might see going along in the future for a long time, and so I mostly came away impressed with Swift in this game. Obviously, he's got stuff to learn on the goal line, but we saw that happen all week, right? Like we saw it on Saturday night. Was it Bridgewater? Bridgewater, I think, fumbled on the goal line. He's a veteran guy and cost his team a bunch.
These things happen.
Yeah.
It's part of the game of football. Fumbles happen. It sucks.
Yeah.
I just know this fan base sometimes, if history is to be looked at, sometimes they don't let mistakes go.
Yeah. Probably true there.
Yeah. Let's take real quick before we go to the break. Let's sum this up pretty quick. I know we're kind of already over for what we need to do, but you had TJ Hawkinson down in notes. Did you want to talk about him real quick as well?
I feel like if Matt Patricia was coaching this game, we would be burying him right now. So it's only, I think, fair that we talk a little bit about some of the mistakes Darrell Bevell made in this game. And one of them, I think, was handing the ball to TJ Hawkinson on a 3rd and 1. I think that's a little bit of an example of the Lions getting a little too cutesy on what should be an easy down. And yes, if his knee is down a half a second earlier, we're talking about maybe how awesome of a call it was. The Lions got a little creative. They were able to get a first down, but we're talking about a 3rd and 1, something that shouldn't require kind of fancy things. And you're putting the ball in TJ Hawkinson's hands, who's not a running back. He should know not to fumble the ball. So it's not like, you're handing it to, let's say, a safety on a fake punt, but we'll get to that in a second. I don't know. I thought the Lions got a little bit too cutesy in the game. Overall, the offense still was working pretty well, and the defense was what it is. But in that instance, I thought they got too cutesy. And then 4th quarter, you're down 14 points. Not a lot of time left in the game. 4th and 4 from your own side of the field. Just go for it. Why fake punt it? Why pretend like you're going to punt it away when everyone in the building knows if you give Tennessee the ball one more time, suddenly that 14-point lead is going to be at least a 17-point lead. And that means a 3-score game instead of a 2-score game. So don't get fancy. Go for it. Don't give the ball to C.J. Moore, a guy who probably didn't have an NFL carry in his career. Put the ball in Matthew Stafford's hands. He was having a hell of a game. Let him pick up 4 yards, and maybe the Lions pull off an upset. That fake punt thing was really, really dumb, and I think if Matt Patricia was still the head coach, we'd be absolutely hammering it for him. So we have to say, Darrell Bevell, you know what? You had a nice honeymoon there. Let's get it together for these last 2 games, not be all crazy and fancy. And, I don't know if you're trying to show off to maybe win a job here, but you were a little over the top today. And I think it cost the Lions a chance to maybe pull off an upset. Because, again, this game was close halfway through the 3rd quarter. A couple big mistakes there at the end of the game really, really sunk the Lions' chances.
Yeah. Only other note I have here is rest in peace to Alexander Myers. If they still made those videos, if they still made those hit compilations, that'd be like a "Hey rookie, welcome to the NFL" kind of moments. Actually, wait, hold up. Myers he's not a rookie, is he?
I have no idea. The guy was added to the practice squad.
First season, so he is a rookie. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I didn't strike. He's 24, so it threw me off. Actually, wait, he was last year with the Steelers. Okay. So I was wrong. Okay, adequate.
No one would blame you for that. I guarantee you 90% of the people listening to this podcast didn't even know he was on the team before the game.
Still, welcome to the freaking NFL with that stiff arm from Derrick Henry. My God, people were immediately vandalizing his Wikipedia. Anyway, yeah, that's, as you say, this could have been a different game. Some weird decisions from the Lions, but as we have established the motto of the Lions now, I'm never not gonna.
Darrell Bevell, never not gonna.
Never gonna not, or whatever it is.
Never gonna not you up. Is that what we're gonna?
Listen, all memes are on the table. I just saw SportsCenter retweet the Wario "I've won, but at what cost?" but with the Jets logo on them. Good job, Jets. I mean, yeah, seriously, we're gonna talk draft position here. Let's just say the Jets today won, but they absolutely lost. So we'll recap the draft position for everyone. There was a couple changes in the draft order. Lions are interested there. And we're going to talk about the general manager search. Big week coming up here. But we're going to take a break. We're going to play a little patty cake with our live streaming audience chats here. Play a little grab ass, have some fun. Once again, if you are not subscribed on YouTube or following us on Twitch, you need to be doing that. And Jeremy will gladly take your money there for all your gift subs. It's what it is. He's doing things with his stash. But for me, I just want you to listen on the podcast. Download it. Give us 5 stars. Make sure you listen to all the ads because that's how I get paid. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, General Manager Week, baby. It's fun. Yeah, we all get to sit here and hoot and holler about hiring decisions. I love how corporate the NFL can be like that sometimes. We'll be right back.
All right, chat. Hold on.
Gabe Bossman, you need to hold on. You need to turn those on in your Twitch notifications. There should be a separate thing in your Twitch notifications. In your Twitch things where it's like to get the notification when we go live.
Yeah,
you do need to turn that on.
And sometimes it doesn't work, so I don't know if you just missed it.
Yeah, I think maybe you have to send out like a specific message when you start Streamlabs or whatever.
I do, but again, sometimes it just doesn't work. But all right, so Uncle Indigo, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, which combined with the 10 gifted subs we got from Detroit in the post-game show means we hit our 20 to 20 out of gifted subs, and this mustache is staying another week.
Jesus Christ.
And that is unless we somehow reach another 90 gifted subs by people that want me to shave it. Again, if you are giving...
You're going to keep it at this point. It is there for all time. I can't even remember a time since you haven't had it on.
I was saying the other day, I went to our Twitch page and I saw a video of a post-broadcast without me in the mustache. I'm like, oh God, I've reached the point where I've had this so long that me without the mustache suddenly looks weird.
Yeah, you look like one of it's not even a porn. Everyone says the porno thing, but really you're reminding me of like one of those like funky guitar 70s like cop buddy things.
Yeah.
Like not Cheech and Chong, but I can't even remember the name of the guys now. But you know what I'm talking about. You got the glasses, you've got the Jewish hair. You've got the curly Jewish hair, and you've got the stash. SC Ghost, you bring up a great point. Trevor Lawrence is a Jaguar, and I see some other people talk about that. Is that a worse fate? What's up? Oh, he can't hear me. I want to ask chat, do you think that's a worse fate for Trevor Lawrence to be a Jaguar or a Jet?
All right. There we go. Happy
that could be potentially, as much as I thought him going to the Jets was going to be bad, like him going to the Jaguars could be horrifying, like for his future prospects. Like, yeah, I know the Jags had a few good years recently, but holy God, that's not a good team.
Zeus coming in here wants to talk Twitch things for a second. Yeah, two things there. If you don't know, we like to do Twitch things. It's super fun, but unfortunately Twitch is discontinuing it at the end of the year. So we are going to do a New Year's Eve Twitch Things party right here on our Twitch channel. I'll probably try to raise some money as well during it. But Zeus spoiled to me today that Twitch Things is actually starting to purge the amount of karaoke songs that they're doing, that they have in their catalog, which I don't know how serious it is yet. I haven't really looked, but...
Can I still do Out of Touch?
I don't know.
That is the only question I have. That's the only thing that matters. We could sing Out of Touch for 3 hours. Hall & Oates. He's into dinosaurs. He likes Motown. That no one will ever top that, and half of you don't even know what I'm talking about because you're not an obsessive sports media watcher like me. You don't remember Mel Kiper Jr. losing his mind over Myles Garrett as he sits there talking about defending him because he thinks people are saying he's not into football by saying that he likes dinosaurs and Motown and Hall & Oates. Just can't even tank right. That's true. This was the funniest thing is that like I was rooting for them to get one win on the year, but my expectation was that the Jags would have a second win by now. But you know what this means, Jeremy? It means the 2008 Lions, they can shotgun a Natty Light now.
Great. Well, you know
what? Like the 72 Dolphins pop champagne.
It's fine.
Every time the undefeateds fall,
we need
shotgun a Natty Light.
We needed someone to wait till next year anyways. Because next year we're moving to a 17-game schedule. Now they can outdo the Lions.
Whoa,
now we can get an 0-17 team, and the Lions like 0-16 will just be like nothing. Who cares?
Yeah, that's like however no one remembers how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers they went like what was it 0-14, 0-15?
Something like it was 14. Yeah,
I forget. I think it was a 14-game schedule back in the day. They were the first winless team in the NFL in that era, and 16 games came along and we just blew it out of the water.
Yep.
Yeah, Browns 0-16 exists anyway. Yeah, no, trust me, we all remember Browns too.
Yep. So now let's just who's a candidate to go 0-16 next year?
Not
or 0-17.
Cincinnati.
Sorry, 0-17.
Not Cincinnati. They're going to have Burrow, and Burrow should improve unless he like
everyone's saying Jets anyways.
Jets. I mean, it could happen.
They were so close in so many games this year, though.
Let me give you my dark horse candidate. And this will be fantastic because I know it will make that town so mad. Eagles.
I was gonna say Eagles too.
They are like they're a shell of themselves.
New
They've
England.
shed so. New England, no, that won't happen. That won't happen there. If that happens, like Bill Belichick was like, I have decided to commit ritual seppuku, regain my honor.
I mean, if he leaves,
Death.
maybe. If he leaves, maybe.
If he leaves,
I don't know
yeah,
why
like-
he would, but
You know, if that would mean who would be the Josh McDaniel would be the head coach?
maybe they hire Matt Patricia.
Oh my god, no! But that was the thing. Like everyone said, Josh McDaniel. The reason
Right,
why he
he's
didn't
the
take the
successor.
Indianapolis
Yeah,
job
that's
was
true.
like he was being groomed for the successor. But I remember how he was in Denver. Are you kidding me? You can't take the Tebow out of this man.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really any other like clear candidates out there. I mean,
Chargers,
I guess
maybe. They're going to
Maybe.
fire Anthony Lynn though. They're going to fire Anthony Lynn, so they'll improve because of that.
they'll improve.
Dallas won't be as bad. Atlanta, I refuse to believe Atlanta will be bad next year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Obviously,
I
a
think
lot depends on their
Carolina's going to improve. I think it's Philadelphia.
hiring. It might be
Philadelphia, Jets, or Jacksonville. One of those three.
I mean, here's one that'll make Lions happy, and I don't know how much I believe it, but I do believe like
You're
They-
going to say it.
the Chicago Bears.
They have too much defensive talent
But for how long? I don't know what their contract situation is like.
through 2021 at least.
I
Bills
just-
will implode after finally clinching the division. Yeah, they just go on a year-long bender.
Oh man, those Bills
Washington,
videos this
maybe?
morning made me sad.
If Washington sticks with this like Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins combo, like, I mean, they've got a good defense, but they could collapse at any time.
Yeah. Oh, is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Don't like to see that.
Yeah, sorry, I've missed. Because we started talking. I missed the end of the is Saints Chiefs over.
Nope, it's still happening. It's, Chiefs
Chiefs got the ball with 6 minutes left,
on the
up
goal
7.
line.
Yeah.
I think the Bears are a great candidate, says Bolson. It's so hard to go winless. True.
Minnesota might be an interesting candidate too.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, they were just so young this year, especially on defense. I feel and
Yeah, I feel like it's one Dalvin Cook injury
Ooh, Denver's-
away from being pretty bad.
they were surprisingly bad this year.
Yeah.
I mean, as the noted Vikings fan of the group, as some of my chat, specifically one person, likes to say all the time. Yeah, I was a little surprised, and I don't know. Again, maybe this is the person in the chat got it right. I don't know. It's never a good assumption to make that young players will just automatically get better, but
Yeah.
if they do in Minnesota, I feel like they could be right there.
How do you feel about Houston? Do you think with a new coach and reevaluating Deshaun Watson's talent, they could do better, or do you think they could?
They won't be
bottom out?
I mean, if we're talking winless, no, I don't think Deshaun Watson can go winless. Period.
Okay. Yeah.
If you got a guy
What if
like
he's
Deshaun
hurt?
Watson.
I don't even know who their backup is, but if you take the quarterback out of the equation, do they have enough talent to get a couple wins or no?
Maybe. I don't know. You have to imagine Bill O'Brien did a freaking number on that team. So
He did.
anyone that's not
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien it's probably an upgrade. Famous last words.
Seahawks
of
D
course.
is awful. I mean, Seahawks are.
But their
I
culture
don't
is
know.
so good.
I don't know how
they're-
to feel about Seahawks, man.
I don't know.
That's a weird team. I know for a fact though that the Rams are going to the playoffs and they're frauds. I'm not even saying that because of the Jets game today, but I mean I am saying that because of the Jets game today.
What was the line on that game? Like 17 or something crazy like that?
Let me hold up. I do this thing with my friend John from USC and his other friend who's also named John but with no H in it. So we like guess the lines before they all come out, kind of like the Colin Cowherd I forget what he calls his game, but then we like pick him against the spread and then we pick him straight up. So I have the lines here. The line on that game was Rams minus 17.
Yeah, it was 17. How much money did
How much
Bledsoe
money?
lose on?
$5, I think, was his initial bet.
I'll say that he bet $5 on his 13 game parlay. I do know the answer to your question, but I don't know if he said it publicly. He texted me it, so I'm not gonna put that information out there. But you can imagine If you don't know,
still,
by the way,
13
chat,
team parlay, that's some Howard Ratner shit right there, man.
if you
And this absolutely was the moment in Uncut Gems where Adam Sandler opens the door and he's smiling. And then
if you saw the movie, you know what happens next.
Yeah.
But yeah, he, in case you don't know, our good friend John Blevins over at Super Squares.
I'm surprised he hasn't checked in here yet.
Yeah, he's I think he's still on air over there. But yeah, he had a 13 game parlay or 12 game parlay, I think it was, and the first 11 hit. And they were all in the 1 p.m. games, so he was set. All he had was the Rams to beat the Jets, and that's all he needed, and he was going to win a lot of money. And
never do that. Never do more than like 3 teams in a parlay. I'm going to go have to tell my Vegas buddies about this 12 team bet just to watch them laugh their ass off.
Spence Matt tells us the backup situation in Houston: Josh McCown and AJ McCarron. So not great.
McCown and McC. All right, let's go, baby.
That's basically what their quarterback situation was like before Deshaun Watson came in. Those were the starters, those kind of guys.
Yeah. There's like, I love that in Houston's history, they have Matt Schaub and Deshaun Watson, and in between is desolation.
And maybe that's something we're going to talk about in a second here with our GM search, because one of the GMs was pretty much responsible for all of that.
For the desolation?
Both the desolation and the Deshaun Watson.
And Matt Schaub, or no?
Well, Brock Osweiler. That's the big negative.
That's part of the desolation. I would say the Brock
Yes.
Lobster is part of the desolation.
Yes.
I refuse to hold Brock Osweiler as a competent quarterback. I'm sorry, Brock. I hope you're watching. I don't mean it in a bad way. Plus 900 for the Jets, Zeus says, on the straight up money line.
Yikes.
I should have taken that bet. I'm terrible at gambling.
Oops. I accidentally disabled my phone. Whoops. Anyways.
Are the Raiders in year 2 or 3 of John Gruden with his 10 year? They're going to be in year 3 next year, I think.
I think this is already year 3. I feel like Gruden's been around forever. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh my God. I think it's only year 2, but I mean, time is flattened this year.
Yeah, this is 3rd year.
Holy shit.
Jeremy's Ron locked out for the next 15 years. I don't know, guys. I don't think you guys are going to hit the 40 gifted subs next week. I'm just going to say it right now. Our views are down, and understandably so. I mean, no one interested in these games anymore.
Gruden came in before Brown. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember now because he had his first year, then the Antonio Brown saga in 19. That's true. Yeah. I think I just lost a year in there, and I assumed Antonio Brown happened this year because I'm a dumbass.
All right, let's get back into it. We dilly-dallied for 20 minutes.
We've got a lot of questions, but we got to really cover some ground here. I feel like I should include some of our Tankathon stuff in the podcast at the end. Do you think?
We could. I mean, if you want to push us to 3 segments, I think we can have
No,
enough
I'll
to do
see
it.
what I've got. I'll see what I've got in Craig afterwards, which Craig right now hasn't crashed yet, but anyway, I need some caffeine to take the edge off on the alcohol. So, 1 second. All right, crack that. All right, let's go.
Ryan couldn't make it tonight. He had a previous engagement, I guess. not that kind of engagement. He already got engaged. It's a little joke. You got it.
It's all Chris's fault for mentioning he should not be named for his head coaching candidates. I'm right, man. One day I'll be vindicated. Like a thief in the night. And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. We're going to shift gears here, take it into we're in like 5th gear, I would say, Jeremy. And now I'm lowering us down to 2nd. We're kind of taking it easy. We're on the back streets right now, away from this game, and we are going to talk about the general manager search. Still, in my mind, not as sexy as the coaching search. This guy, whoever we are talking about, is not going to be seen every weekend on the sidelines wearing a short sleeve hoodie and potentially a baseball cap with the old Lions logo from the 1950s or 60s. That just makes it not as sexy to me. But we are talking about men in suits, which are sexy. So we are going to talk about general managers. And we got a big week coming up here. Three, count them, 3 coaching candidates, general manager candidates, excuse me, God, are going to be meeting with the Detroit Lions. All these guys are not currently with teams right now because that's really the only thing the Lions can do before the NFL season's over.
Yep.
So that is what we've got on our table right now. We've got 3 candidates here, Jeremy. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with?
Let's start with the one they already interviewed, because I don't think we've talked much on the podcast about Louis Riddick, who was interviewed on Friday. I know that makes you very excited, but I feel like we have to address him, and because he's a very
Haven't we learned our lesson about getting guys from TV?
Sure, but there's been 2 more recent examples that have worked out kind of okay, right? John Lynch over in Denver.
I forgot about.
I'm sorry, John Lynch. I'm sorry, not in Denver. He's with the 49ers. I'm sorry. He played for 49ers. Denver. He's with the 49ers.
But A, I forgot about John Lynch. B, I feel like, okay, so this still makes it work for me. I just have to expand it from Oakland to. I feel like this only works for teams that were based in the Bay Area at the time.
Okay.
I was going to say.
Mike Mayock is the other.
The only thing I was going to say at this point, the only team that seems to work with guys taken from TV seems to be the Raiders, because up is down when it comes to the Raiders and the Davis clan.
Sure.
That somehow Gruden and Mike bleeping Mayock is working.
Yeah. And that's, and I think that's part of the appeal for a lot of people is they've seen Louis Riddick. They know Louis Riddick. He's on ESPN all the time. He's part of their draft coverage now. He's on Monday Night Football. And so you hear him, you respect him, you know what he's all about. And a lot of people hear that and they like what he has to say. And let's be clear, like, he's got a decent resume too. He's been out of football since 2013.
He's not just a guy on TV.
Yeah.
He's got background.
But also be clear, he's never been a general manager. All of his experience in the NFL have been on the pro personnel side. So he's mostly dealing with free agents and waiver wire and trades and things of that nature.
If you're not used to general manager talk, pro scouting means you are scouting guys who are already in the NFL. You're looking for guys that you can either trade for, who are currently on rosters, who might be available on the waiver wire, who might be on practice squads, or who might be available either in free agency or as part of a trade.
Yep.
You're not looking at college at all. You're just looking at guys who are currently employed or were employed at some point in the NFL.
Yep. And you look at his resume: pro scout for Washington, director of pro personnel at Washington, pro scout for the Eagles, assistant director of pro personnel at the Eagles, director of pro personnel at the Eagles. So literally all on the pro side, but he's definitely had his foot in the draft at ESPN. And yes, that's different. It's not, you're not putting together scouting reports. You're not, devising a draft board necessarily and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. All you have to do is appear smarter than Mel Kiper.
Yeah, probably true. But I think the Lions should have an open mind, and I do think they're right in interviewing him. I think might as well interview as many people as you can right now while you can't interview the guys that are currently employed. So he's a guy that I'm not very excited about. I'm willing to let him prove me wrong. But if you're talking about, top 5 guys, he's not in my top 5.
No, he's really not for me. The only thing that really excites me about him is he does have original XFL pedigree, which, as we know, is by way of Purdue, is the way to go to have just wild, unquenchable success in your life. Shout out to the Orlando Rage. No, listen, he's not just a TV guy. I know we've got, can I say his name without people like ripping me apart anymore? He doesn't have Eminem pedigree. He has some qualifications. He has proper qualifications. As you said, he was a scout for the Eagles in the aughts. He was director of personnel in the early 2010s when they were building up and making themselves into a contender in those years after they jettisoned Andy Reid. And kind of, I think, straddled the Reid to Peterson era, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that sounds right.
No, I'm sorry. No, he straddled the Reid to Chip Kelly era. So that's maybe not. Yeah, I see Jeremy.
But
for those watching
to be fair,
watching on Twitch, Jeremy just made a face.
But he's not. He didn't hire Chip Kelly. Again, he doesn't have general manager experience. So that's, again, maybe one of the knocks on him, at least compared to the guys that they're interviewing this week.
No, but I think, listen, guys like him because he's on TV. When you're on TV, you get to talk to people. And if nothing else, for a general manager, a personable general manager, there is something to that.
Sure.
because I think one of the big critiques of Bob Quinn, Jeremy, was that he never talked to anyone. He never talked to the press. He never got in front of a camera. He maybe once a year at best.
Well, there was
he talked.
the draft and the end of the year, and that's about it. Maybe sometimes he would go in during the owners' meetings, but yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that to me, I don't give a shit.
Well,
I
I kind of do, in the sense that that's nice. That helps out things at times. And listen, general managers in the NFL don't have the kind of power that they have in the NBA or in baseball. They're not the end all be all. Coaches have to have a big say in the kind of groceries you go and get. It's the old line from was it Brian Billick? I'm sorry, I've got a dog barking in my background now too. I think it's Billick or Polian, one of the two. I'm pretty sure it's Billick. This dog's really annoying and really distracting me. But you know, about the coach has to have a hand in the groceries, and that's really true in the NFL. You don't have a Daryl Morey or Theo Epstein type character in the NFL. So I mean, I wouldn't mind a guy who is personable, who knows his role and knows that he's there to facilitate, to advise, to pick out the best people and give the best options to a coach. And I think Louis Riddick can do that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Next up, and this is where I think it gets interesting, and I'm not going to tip my hand on this stuff. And can you even hear it on the stream?
Yep.
Okay, give it a second.
It's fine. It's not that bad.
I'm going to kill my neighbor. Okay.
Chill.
They let him out at 11 p.m. Anyway, so I would say, so we've got technically these are two former Falcons guys that the Lions are interviewing, but we've got Thomas Dimitroff and Scott Pioli, which Scott Pioli is a name that immediately set radars off in my head. Which you want to start with, Pioli or Dimitroff?
Let's talk with Dimitroff a little bit, because if you listen to our podcast that we recorded on Friday, dropped on Saturday, we talked to Aaron Wilson about Rick Smith, and during that time he talked about Rick Smith, he dropped a pretty significant rumor where he said Thomas Dimitroff might be the leader in the clubhouse. He's hearing that the Lions have significant interest in this guy, and I think he's one of the more intriguing candidates because he just got fired. In October.
He just got fired
2 months ago. Not even a full 2 months ago. This guy was the Atlanta Falcons GM for years, for over a decade. We're talking about a guy who has a ton of experience, a lot of it good. I mean, we're not that far removed from an Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl appearance, and this is a guy who's highly respected. This is a guy who saw the Falcons turn around on his watch. I mean, holding a GM job for 12 years is nothing to shake your stick at. I mean,
that's not easy.
It's not easy. And I mean, all you have to do is look at the Lions. How many GMs have they had in the past 12 years? 3 or 4? He had a mostly successful career. Now, I think one of the things that I also really like about him is that his resume goes well beyond that. For 4 years, he was with the Patriots, and yeah, I know, hold your horses. Yes, Patriots. He was the director of pro scouting over there. But then you go back,
and he's director of college scouting.
Sorry, yes, college scouting. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, but that I want to correct you on that because that's something I want to come back to. But continue.
But yeah, and then you could go even further back, like scout for 1 year with the Chiefs, scout for 3 years with the Lions, scout for another 3 years with the Browns. The guy has worked his way up. Been in this game for a long time. He's been around for 30 years now, and deep resume.
Got to start in the CFL scouting for them.
So I mean, he's worked his way up. He knows scouting. He knows both sides of it now because he's been with the Falcons. They're in a little bit of a cap issue at this point, but I think overall you have to look mostly positive at his time in Atlanta. Maybe it soured at the end there, but well-respected guy with a tight resume. And you know, the Lions have said a lot about wanting guys that are experienced in their jobs. You know, there was that memo that Sheila Ford Hamp sent out to to her team and saying, "Listen, we're going to get someone experienced, knows what they're doing." Dimitroff is that guy. He's been experience. And if I'm making a choice whether I want an experienced GM or an experienced head coach, I'm taking the experienced GM. That's where I want the experience right now. And Dimitrov is one of those kind of rare candidates that has a pretty decent resume. And yes, he did get fired, but he brought that Falcons team to legitimacy in kind of a hurry.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to tip my hand against two of the other guys that we got to talk about. We still got to talk about Scott Pioli, and we got to talk about one other guy. But this is my favorite guy out of these names. Just hands down right now for several reasons. One, I think when he got fired from Atlanta, he wasn't the problem in Atlanta. That was a coaching problem. If you look at any of those Falcons team, they are an embarrassment of riches when it comes to their talent. Like, are you kidding me? Like he was there to build around Matt Ryan. I'm pretty sure he drafted Julio Jones. Like,
he drafted Matt Ryan too. Matt Ryan was his first draft
drafted
pick.
Matt Ryan. He built those teams, man. The Atlanta Falcons, their problem was never in talent. They always had a lot of, especially on the offense, they always had talent. They always had, players that would make your eyes pop. Their problem was always in coaching. So I can't put, like, I understand why he got fired. It was probably time for a change. It was probably time for a rebuild. But I absolve Dimitrov of quite a bit of that blame. The other thing I like about him, and why I corrected you, is because versus a lot of these other guys, you're going to see they are pro. A lot of these other guys, they have backgrounds as pro scouts. They're concerned about guys who are in the NFL. What I look for in a general manager for the Lions coming in the future is a guy who has college scouting experience, because the Lions, I hate to say it, they're staring down the barrel of a rebuild. And what is the hallmark of the Bob Quinn general manager era? It is that he wasted his draft picks. He swung with his baseball bat, with his famous Louisville Slugger, and missed several times. Casey has struck out in Mudville. No one will get that reference. I like that book. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, you build through the draft. That's how you
build
rebuild
through the draft. And that's what I want. That is you see how these teams are winning right now. They understand the best way to do it is getting players who are under their rookie contracts, who are early in their career, that you can get in a team-friendly cap situation. And I hate to say it to the Stafford fans out there, at some point they are going to have to draft a quarterback. I want the guy who is experienced looking at the college level, and what worked and what is best from the college level, and understanding their talent in college rather than just looking for the guy who fits a pro system. I think Dimitrov is qualified to do that. I think if you give him a situation like, say, a few years ago, he would be the general manager to pick Patrick Mahomes and not Mitchell Trubisky. That's maybe a stretch, but I'm just saying, like, he has that background, college background as a general manager. And I would like to see the Lions build through the draft at this point. Because that was a problem with Bob Quinn. That was what damned Bob Quinn in my mind. He would pick guys in the draft. They would bust. He would have to go out in free agency to fix it. Suddenly you've wasted your draft pick and you're spending against your cap too much. So I think, like, that's all, like, to me, in my mind, that makes Dimitrov probably the best in my mind.
He's up there for me.
Out of these other guys.
He's definitely up there for me.
All right, let's talk about Scott Pioli.
Sure. This is a tough one to sell me on.
Yes, because, like, yeah, he was so positive. He was there at the same time as Dimitrov. He was his assistant general manager from 14 to 19. But the problem was before then, for 4 years, he was the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you're listening to us in 2020, you're like, what's the problem with that? Well, those 4 years was 2009 to 2012, aka the years before they hired Andy Reid.
Yeah, literally the 4 years before they hired Andy Reid. 2013, they hire Andy Reid, and the rest is history. But I do want to say, like, okay, there's a lot of things going on.
I've heard Pioli's name before. Pioli's name before. He is respected.
He is respected, but here's there's so many mixed emotions I have here. One is, like, Patriots tree. He's a Patriots guy. A lot of people thought he was going to get a big chance. He did. He took over a 2-12 Chiefs team. He managed for them to go, like, 4-12, get a little bit better, and by the time 2012 hit, they were 2-12 or 2-14 again. But I think a lot of Chiefs fans look back on that time and be like, you know what? he probably wasn't as bad as we give him credit for. I mean, you look at some of the draft picks that he made there from 2009 to 2012. 2010, he drafts Eric Berry, a very, very talented safety who unfortunately went through a bunch of injuries in his career, still made 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros. 2011, Rodney Hudson, center, 3 Pro Bowls. Justin Houston, 4 Pro Bowls, one All-Pro nod. 2012, Dontari Poe, a very talented nose tackle, 2 Pro Bowls for him. So he did hit on a lot of guys, especially at the top of his draft. It's just everything else never came together, whether it was they couldn't find a quarterback, whatever issues they were going to. Maybe he has issues hiring a head coach. And, I mean, that's a big strike on your record. The Lions are looking for a general manager who are probably going to be hiring a head coach. So if you have misses there, that's almost as important as missing on some draft picks as well. But like you said, after that, he went to the Falcons. The Falcons saw a good amount of success under him. He's a well-respected guy. So he's one I want to keep an open mind with, but I think he might be even lower than Louis Riddick on my list, just because there's a lot of questions. There's some failures in his past, and I just don't know. I mean, again, his resume goes way, way back. 1992 is when he started in the NFL as a pro personnel assistant for the Browns. Worked his way up to a respected level, but I'm not sure I'm ready to give him a second chance at general manager after what happened in Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do want to add that we do have a I hate to bring up the Twitch chat too much because I know this is part of our recorded segment, but we do have a Falcons fan in our Twitch chat, Kwakuis, who is like kind of in agony that we even mentioned Scott Dimitroff and said, please don't talk about him. Falcons should not have fired him.
There you go.
So,
and he points out what we pointed out, Dimitroff's first draft pick, Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dismiss Scott Pioli too much, but again, like pro personnel is most of his background there. And there are a couple marks on his record here. And a lot of that comes from his time with the Chiefs. And maybe he can turn it around there. But I mean, if you're interviewing 2 guys from that era from the Falcons, I would lean towards Dimitroff more than Pioli.
And just spoiler, if you're listening to it on this podcast or if you're watching live, we do plan on getting a Dimitroff expert that maybe we can talk a little bit about Scott Pioli with as well. So expect that later this week on the podcast.
Ooh,
spoiler.
I like that. That's a tease. That's a tease. Make sure you subscribe. And finally, I know we've already done a podcast on him. Speaking of these podcasts we've been doing in the middle of the week, the other person the Lions are interviewing this week is former Texans general manager Rick Smith, which we talked about with the guy from the Houston Chronicle, but
Aaron
we didn't
Wilson,
really Aaron Wilson. Yep. But I don't think we've sat here and given our opinions on Rick Smith. At least I haven't, because I wasn't on that podcast.
I talked about him a little bit. He's my number one candidate right now. I'm just putting it blatantly. I like him a lot. I think he's a super, super well-respected guy. I think he got a bum deal with the Texans. He was doing an excellent job drafting there. Got a bunch of Pro Bowl, All-Pro guys, maybe even a couple Hall of Famers there in Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt. I mean, and you know, Aaron Wilson told what I thought was a pretty cool story about how they got Arian Foster. You know, he trusted one scout who's, you know, just banging the drum on him. And I know he's an undrafted guy, so I don't know how much credit you give for a general manager for getting an undrafted guy. But at the same time, they trusted him. It worked out. It was a big hit for them. Overall, though, I think he's very well respected. He's a rare instance in which you have a GM with a good reputation that didn't technically get fired. He stepped down, even though he was probably going to get fired if he hadn't stepped down, because him and Bill O'Brien were butting heads. And for whatever reason, the dumbass owner took Bill O'Brien's side. And we all know how that worked out. But in general, I think this guy is the cleanest resume. He's had a couple of years to think things out after, you know, think on some mistakes he made. Yes, he made some mistakes. Brock Osweiler was obviously the biggest mistake. It took him a long time to get his quarterback, but he got his quarterback. And that's not an easy thing to do.
I think Brock Osweiler in his head would, like, we've talked about those quarterbacks before. I like the approach when you can, like, you have the temperance to realize you've got to get a lot of other pieces before you can just plug in a quarterback. Because if you swing and miss on a quarterback, that's going to set you back like multiple years. You can't just swing and miss on a quarterback and be like, oh, okay, well, let's move this guy over to this other position. Because every other position, you have at least, you know, several guys in the roster. So if you swing and miss on a wide receiver, like, just go get another wide receiver. It's fine. Yeah. Quarterback, those guys, They command a lot. That's a 4 or 5 year mistake right there.
Yeah, and he managed to get out of Brock Osweiler in a year. He pawned them off on the Browns and sure.
But that's what I mean. He sat there and watched Brock and realized, like, this isn't the guy I really want long term.
Yep.
I'm waiting for Deshaun Watson.
Yep. That's
temperance.
My only concern with him, really, I mean, at least compared to the other guys we just talked about, is he hasn't been around as long. He's only been around since 2000. He's only been in two places, the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans at the NFL level. So, maybe not as diversified in terms of connections and philosophies, given he's only been with two organizations. But overall, I think he's still the strongest candidate.
Yeah. And I see our chat is kind of agreeing with us. They like Thomas Dimitroff. They like both our options here, Jeremy. They're like, my option is Thomas Dimitroff. Like, your option is Rick Smith. They're saying 1A, 1B among those guys. So, I mean.
And one thing to consider, too, is, like, these guys are getting all the attention now because these are the guys that can interview. There's a whole bevy of candidates that we're probably going to get into January 4th or whenever the regular season ends that we're not even talking about now. So don't act like these are the only, like, these are all the eggs in the basket. There's a whole new set of candidates that you have to imagine the Lions are going to touch on. And yes, they're not going to be as experienced as these guys because you're not going to, you're not going to interview a current GM. You can't make a sideways jump like that. So you're going to get a lot of guys that are directors of pro personnel, directors of college personnel, assistant general managers, that sort of thing. So they might not look as impressive on paper, but again, it's that mix of, like, do you want the up and coming guy or the retread? And it's not an easy decision there. I think you kind of lean towards retread in general manager, maybe up and comer on coaching side, but it's a matter of preference. And so these are the guys that we're talking about now, and I think Smith is my guy.
Yeah, I mean, Dimitrov's my guy. I gotta say, like, no matter who they interview next, these are some heavy hitters right out of the gate.
Yep.
To interview these guys, and probably Louis Riddick in here and Scott Pioli. Like, these are all some pretty heavy hitter names, and right off the bat.
The one other thing you also have to consider is that the Lions aren't just picking their favorite. They've got other teams involved. And like, again, if you listen to our podcast that we recorded over the weekend, the Lions might not be Rick Smith's top option. It sounds like the Falcons are going to be, the Falcons are potentially going to be pursuing him. So Lions are going to have to convince a lot of teams that they're the franchise to go with. And I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this on the Spielman podcast. Is there a concern maybe that there are too many cooks in the kitchen in Detroit with Sheila Fordham, with Chris Spielman, too many people to answer for, with Rod Wood, I should say. And that's something to think about. And maybe Chris Spielman is a recruiter. Maybe he's a plus, not a negative. And I don't know. We just have to wait for it all to play out. I'm just kind of like throwing everything against the wall here, but it's all really interesting how it plays out. And and
I got to imagine there's going to be other teams interested in Thomas Dimitroff too.
Sure.
Like Texans would be kind of we're talking about a Texans guy interviewing with the Falcons. Could see a Falcons guy interviewing with the Texans. Who knows?
Yeah.
So there's definitely there. I hate to say it to Lions fans, there's going to be some interesting jobs out there besides the Lions. Texans right now have a young and very promising quarterback in Deshaun Watson. A lot else that could be rebuilt around him. Whereas the Lions, like other teams out there, are going to have, high first-round draft picks, be they the Jaguars or the Jets. I don't know about general manager openings on some of those teams.
Jaguars. Jaguars are now they're in line for the first overall pick.
They're in line for the first overall pick because the Jets won. The Jets won. They the 2008 Lions and the 2000 whatever Browns, like they cracked, shotgun some natty lights to celebrate, but for not having another not having another winless among their midst. But they somehow screwed themselves out of the top. I think that's a good chance to slide over to Tankathon, shall we, Jeremy?
Sure.
Real quick to close out the podcast with that. So the Lions are still holding steady at number 5 as we are recording. Sunday Night Football has
number
yet
10
to kick as we are recording. We are waiting to see what happens with the Giants. That will matter.
Yeah. Yes, the Lions are currently ahead of the Giants at the moment due to the extra loss. But if the Giants also lose, they'll probably jump the Lions in draft order simply by matter of strength of schedule. Lions currently at 10, Giants currently at 13th. They won't swap places there necessarily, but the Lions will drop back to 11th if the Giants win that game. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation here. You don't imagine the Lions are probably going to win another game. The Buccaneers obviously have a lot to play for still. And the Vikings game is kind of up in the air, right? Because the Vikings probably won't have anything to play for after they lost to the Bears today. Their ceiling is 8-8. And
that game's going to be weird because either one of these teams could be shutting down people. I don't know if if the Vikings will shut down Dalvin Cook. I don't know if the Lions will shut down Matthew Stafford.
Stafford
really
might
hard
not
to
play
tell.
another game. Like the fact that they pulled him from a 21-point game today might be like, okay, well, this game was over, and now you look at it, they've been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Is there anything necessarily to play him for? I don't know. You know, Matthew Stafford's going to want to play. That's the one thing we're sure of. He's never going to not. If there's one thing we learned today, he's never going to not. But yeah,
never gonna not.
I think there's a good chance the Lions pick in the top 10. If I had to, just kind of throw a dart and pick a number right now, it's probably 7 or 8. I don't think they're going to crack the top 10 at this point. They really needed Atlanta to pull off an upset today, or Houston, or Philly almost did. But yeah, none of those ended up happening, and so I think the Lions are probably stuck in the lower end of the top 10, and that's if they lose out. If they beat the Vikings, they might slide into those low teens, which is not really where you want to be.
Not ideal.
But you can also get talented people there, or if you get an aggressive GM like Rick Smith. Rick Smith went up and got himself a Deshaun Watson. He traded up. He found a guy that he wanted, and he got him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's always a possibility. If the Lions' new GM decides he wants to go a quarterback direction, they could always trade up. They don't have a ton of draft capital this year, but you could always dip into next year. So always something.
Yeah, and listen, going into the end of this season here, the Eagles, I know they're a few spots in front of the Lions, but they play both NFC East divisional rivals in the Cowboys and Washington. I don't know how winnable those games are, but they're running out a new quarterback out there, and Jalen Hurts looked pretty good against the Saints.
Sure,
I'm not gonna lie. I know they had a close loss against the Cardinals, and who knows what Dallas is gonna do? Who knows what the Chargers are gonna do? There are teams in front of the Lions who could absolutely pick up some wins.
I mean, the Jets won today, so anything can happen.
Yeah, anything's possible. Yeah. I think we're going to wrap it here. What do you say, Jeremy? You feel good about this game?
Yeah, anything is possible, and I'm never not gonna. I'm never
not gonna.
I've already forgotten what the quote is.
It's okay. We'll figure it out in post. We're going to hang around. If you're on Twitch chat on YouTube, we like to kind of chop it up afterwards. But this is going to do it for our recorded session here before we all just devolve into just idiocy. So thank you guys for listening. Again, be sure to especially download. I know we talk up the live streams a lot, but really, we love you guys who download this thing. I hope it keeps you guys company. It's weird. I want everyone to have good holidays out there. It's a weird year. Don't do nothing that's going to put anyone in danger. Be mindful of that, but still celebrate with people when you can. And we're near the end of the year. Go Lions, and we will see you Starside. Craig hasn't crashed.
Never gonna not you.
Da 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 da.
Yeah, 10th over.
I
think Chris said 5 at one point, but I tried to jump in there. Yeah, 10th.
What
They're
happened?
currently 10th. I think you said at some point the Lions were 5th in draft order.
I think I meant to say they had 5 wins, but yeah.
Yeah. If you use a double negative, you told us to put people in danger. No. How about that? Ooh.
Sorry, just had to kick Craig.
All good. For some reason, my OBS still has the chat of super squares, and it's really been throwing me off the entire podcast.
Has it? No, but I've had mine popped out, so I've been...
Yeah. No.
Jalen Hurts played well today. He really did. No, I think they have something there, and honestly, I enjoy watching Jalen Hurts succeed because it means that Carson Wentz is just going to get more and more mad. And I'm not a fan of Carson Wentz.
Uncle Indo asked, do you think GMs prefer to pick their quarterback? Yes and no. I mean, it depends. I think the next GM is going to take a long, hard look at Stafford and make an opinion on him if he doesn't have one already. And he might say, you know what? this dude's still got a lot left in the tank. This dude is still balling out. He's still balled out. I mean, his past 3 games, I think he's been phenomenal. He really has. And I don't know. I mean, that it has the kind of performance that will leave Lions fans optimistic going into, like, it feels like there's always one thing that leaves Lions fans optimistic going into the next year. Last year it was Matthew Stafford going out on a high. His first 8 games last year were fantastic. And so like, oh, well, if Stafford just picks up where he left off, the offense is going to be amazing. And the year before that, it was the Lions run defense. So after they got snacks in 2018, it was like, ooh, this run defense is pretty good. If they continue this in 2019, like, this defense is going to be good. And I mean,
listen, I just don't think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback. I haven't thought he's a good quarterback for years, but everyone keeps talking about his potential. Just wait till he gets healthy, and like, oh, all these things where you just dismiss the rumors, how he's like just a handful to deal with in the locker room and everything. That lie's kind of fallen off at this point. I'm just not a fan of Carson Wentz.
Neither am I. I don't think anyone really should be at this point. I don't know why you would be.
You'd be surprised, man.
Stafford's looked amazing with the deck stacked against him in the last couple games. Yeah. I mean, no Galladay. Today didn't have his starting center. Who knows who's been playing at right tackle forever, because as soon as they got Halapuli Vaitai back this week, he got was it a concussion about a week, a quarter into the game?
Something like that.
Poor Dan Orlovsky and his Wentz takes. I don't feel bad for Dan Orlovsky. He's had enough bad takes.
I think I went on this rant a few weeks ago about, like, you can't be the former player and then just be like, talk about how buddy everyone is with, like, how good all your friends are in the NFL. Like, come on.
Am I growing a goatee next year? No. I'm probably as soon as we don't hit our gifted sub count, which, if not next week, I have to imagine it'll be the following week. I can't imagine hitting 80 subs in one day. I'm shaving the mustache and I'm going bald until November again, because I don't really enjoy the facial hair that much, but I'm milking this for all it's worth. How did Dahl play? He did have the horrible sack, the snap, I should say, that caused the sack. That was rough. But it seemed to me like that was almost a miscommunication. Like, he snapped it almost like he thought Stafford was under center, and he was not. He was in shotgun. Do you feel bad for Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence? No. They're about to make a lot of money.
I'm also not a fan of Clemson. I find Clemson intolerable sometimes. And Justin Fields goes to Ohio State. So do with that what you will.
Anything else to talk about, guys? I don't know if I got anything else for you.
That's the thing, is like, there just wasn't much from this week other than general manager stuff. That's why I decided we were going to do this, just bang this out pretty quick. I mean, we talked about this. We did our recap live on Twitch, and even then I felt like we were kind of scraping the barrel after a bit.
A little bit, yeah. And I mean, given the fact that we had 3 midweek podcasts last week, and we've already covered a lot. We already covered Spielman, and our emergency podcast, we already talked about Rick Smith a lot with Aaron Wilson. And then, yeah, we also had the Raz update with Kent Lee Platty, if you guys check that out. Mm-hmm. How many gifted to shave your head, says Hellboy Kurt. I don't think I'm going to do that.
Let's not.
I will say that I'd love to see you guys. I wanted to make New Year's Eve a big charity event, and I forgot that I can't organize something like that, something big like that, when I'm in the middle of a football season. I was able to do that big charity event in the off season because it was the off season. Much harder to do in season. So I think I might just like throw up a charity goal of like $1,000 maybe, and even that's probably way too much. And then like maybe do, if you were around for our last charity event, like we had a wheel spinny thing where I would do something humiliating every time we hit, like maybe in this instance it'll be like $200, and I'll like take a shot of hot sauce or take a shot of lime juice or pie to the face or something dumb. But I think we'll probably bring back the wheel. I think that's what we'll probably do. Hopefully they'll have songs still on Twitch things, but yeah. Charity bring back Twitch things in 2020. I wish I could do that.
Would be nice.
Eat a mozzarella stick. Well, here's the thing. Last charity event, the mozzarella sticks milkshake was the highest goal that we hit. And in case we hit it, I had bought a bunch of frozen mozzarella sticks. But if you remember that night, our good friend, running back coach Kyle Kasky, he ordered me food that night via, whatever, Uber Eats or something. And he got me mozzarella sticks. So I used those in the mozzarella sticks milkshake, which means I still have frozen mozzarella sticks in my freezer right now. So maybe
Always have. They'll always be there.
Maybe. We'll put that on the reward board on New Year's Eve. So that'll be a Thursday night. So I know that's going to be a tough ask for a lot of you, but we're going to try to run it something like, I don't know, like a 5 p.m. to midnight type of thing. Obviously lock down New Year's.
I don't know when I'll jump in for that, because I think those weeks I'm going to be starting work like 5 to noon Pacific. Just because I'm covering a bunch of shifts, so I don't know if we'll see. But if Out of Touch is still in the library, I will absolutely sing that.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys aren't doing anything on New Year's, and hopefully you guys aren't going into crowded bars on New Year's, fingers crossed.
Don't do that.
But yeah, if you're spending it at home, if you didn't get to travel to see loved ones this year, hang out with us on that night, and I promise you, we'll have a good time. Really quick, some more questions before we get out of here. We do get excited, myself included, about front office moves. That's how bad our team is on the field. Yeah, Andrea, I feel you. You gotta draw excitement from something at this point.
We gotta talk about something. What do you want, for us to say? Yeah, the team sucks for like an hour.
Simon Charkaroff says,
I run out of adjectives for that.
Happy or sad for Justin Fields? You mean now that he's probably going to New York?
Jets.
What are Jeremy and Chris's Twitter? I'm at Detroit on Lion. I'll just type it in chat. At Detroit on Lion. And Chris is Chris Perfect. There we go. If I was smart, I would make that a command, but I'm not smart, so.
No one's smart.
I think dodging the Jets is a win for the number 1 pick. Maybe.
I think you guys are overvaluing.
Oh, I did spell Detroit wrong. Sorry.
Jacksonville. I really think you're overvaluing Jacksonville. I think you guys think it is possible for that to be more than just a flash in the pan with their defense.
All right, Chad. What are you, my managing editor? Relax. Talk about how bad the team sucks for 2 hours. What is FM radio? Hey. That is the one news that we didn't touch on any of our podcasts. I don't really know if I want to touch it that much.
Yeah, I put. Oh, you already put my thing in the chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, no. So in case you missed it, Lions Radio Network. So Dan Miller, all those guys. No one's being moved around. It's still gonna be Dan Miller and Lomas Brown. It's part of a package deal. They're their own thing, Lions Radio Network. But rather than been hosting on the AM dial on WJR, next year they're going back to the FM dial on 97.1 WXYT, The Ticket.
Yep.
Which, depending how you feel about that, I mean,
I don't care.
For me as an audiophile, anything back on the XM dial, fantastic. AM is garbo. It's absolute garbo. I feel like we should go the way of Norway and just kill the AM dial. On the other hand, I know people aren't exactly fans of at least one of the hosts on 97.1.
But some of them are though. There's a big portion of Lions fan that loves Valenti and everyone over there, and that's fine. It's just
whatever your tastes are. Mike Valenti, especially when he was back with Terry Foster, that was one of the biggest. I kid you not, one of the biggest local shows that was live stream that people watched on live streams across the country. It was big. People tuned in for it. I feel like that show maybe lost something with Terry Foster, but I don't want to denigrate whoever the new co-host is. I've been away for a while.
honestly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's been a while. Um,
Bolson
I
said,
will say-
"Why are we talking about radio waves in 2020?"
that's why. This right here is why.
He works in radio. That was
Yes.
offensive to him.
Yes.
But you're right.
Listen, I think in case you guys don't remember, it was one of the first big stories we talked about on the podcast was back in 2015 when the Lions moved off 97.1 just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they moved to WJR. One of the big stories that CBS, who runs CBS Radio, is kind of the affiliate of 97.1 and Entercom. They claimed that the Lions tried to pressure them to get rid or censor Mike Valenti because of his incredibly dismal, cynical, and dismissive and very negative views on the team.
And at times,
I don't know if that's...
And at times disrespectful. I want to throw that word out there.
Which, I mean, granted, let me just put it this way. Radio guys, we're not required to show you respect. Radio guys like Valenti are there to be the voice of the fan. And there are some fans who are very cynical, who are very down on this team, and they deserve to have a voice just like anyone else. You know, you want to, if you are in radio, you have to give out an unvarnished take on the team. You are not you are guaranteed editorial freedom from the business side. You are not supposed to be there to play nice with the business side. There is supposed to be, and this is true of all journalism, there's supposed to be a hard split between editorial, which is what you are when you're on air, and business. Okay? Understand that. Just because they are the affiliate, it doesn't, those lines blur all the time in radio. Those lines blur all the time in radio, and I've worked in radio in local markets. I work in national markets. There are absolutely local guys who will pull punches, because they understand the business is what it is. They have to preserve their business affiliations. We have a radio professional here. Yeah, I literally work in radio right now. I work in a national syndication radio, sports talk radio. So please listen to me as like a voice of information on this. I'm trying to tell you how the sausage is made here. I'm pulling back the curtain for you guys. That all said, I don't know if it was smart what Valenti did. I know it wasn't smart if the Lions were guilty at all. However, CBS never ponied up any kind of proof, not that they ever would, right, that this was true. But either way, without too much other information, it looked bad on the Lions. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and it was funny.
to have your Jimmys rustled so bad by a guy on the FM dial that you're trying to get him fired is not good.
And it was interesting because Rod Wood was kind of, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Stoney, because Rod Wood announced, their move back to 97.1 on 97.1 on Stoney's show, and Stoney kind of joked around him. He's like, "Hey, I guess you guys, have made amends a little bit, or you guys maybe aren't so sensitive anymore over there." And Rod Wood just laughed it off. He's like, "Haha, I know what you're referring to. I'm not going to speak on it, but what's in the past is in the past." Is essentially what he said. And yeah, I mean, I think you're right. The Lions ended up looking bad on that move, whether fairly or not. I did see reports out there that AM offered them $1 million more to go with them. It was technically a better financial deal for the Lions to go in that direction. But now all four major sports are going to be on 97.1, and that's an overall positive thing for sports fans in Detroit.
Kinda. I mean, it is a little sad because Detroit used to have multiple sports talk stations. I forget the one. I think it was 105.1 that fell apart. And of course, back in the day, there was WDFN was one of the affiliates, and that got shut down. And then the Pistons had their own channel. I think that was 105.1. That was their affiliate. And they had plenty of people over at 105.1 too. There was good variety in the voices you can get on air. And that's always good, especially for a big sports town like Detroit. When it's one sports talk radio station, that is ossified. Some of those positions, do not take it from me working in radio. Those guys hold on those positions forever, man. Yeah. It takes a lot for guys to move on or go somewhere else. And sometimes guys don't want to go somewhere else. They want to stay in the local market because they like it so much. Valenti, I think, is a New York guy at the end of the day. I don't know if he ever intends to move up. He seems to be pretty at home in Detroit at this point, but you know, but yeah, I just it hurts a little bit that there's only one station. I will say that, but at the same time, I think for fans, like listening on FM is so much better than listening on AM. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
And to be clear, like I just like that the games are all being broadcast in one place, so it's just not confusing for Lions fans. In terms of
Right,
sports
yeah.
talk radio, yeah, I wish there was more diversification. I think a lot of Lions fans and really Detroit sports fans are sick of some of the negativity that 97.1 spews. And granted, the sports teams haven't done anything to say
Sure, but I also I would play devil's advocate in that I don't think blind optimism.
Well, no,
as proved-
but there has to be a middle ground. That's the problem is they're not finding a middle ground right now, which is why hopefully we're stepping in and being like, you know what? I don't think we lean heavily positive or heavily negative in general,
No.
and so
no one likes a slappy either.
right.
And I think that would be an accusation of anyone who goes on there because like I mean, I don't know. I would get killed all the time because I've said on this podcast many times I never thought Patricia was the right choice.
Right. And
Killed because people only wanted to see the positive. They only want to see the way it goes in the future. And sometimes that's fine if you're a fan, but sometimes other fans are thinking very differently. Those people need voices too. You have to be truthful to your fans. You cannot you can't treat them like you're a wrestling face running from one end of the ring to the other with your hand cupped to your ear like Hulk Hogan, waiting to hear their cheers.
the one thing I think Lions fans are looking for, not getting though, is, you know, it's not it's realism, or it's not sugarcoating things, but also doing it in a respectful manner.
No,
Because
I
that's
think
where I
there
think
is-
97.1 fails on a lot. Not everyone at 90. There are a lot of good people over there at 97.1, but there are a lot that are negative and disrespectful, and that I don't appreciate.
In the context of Valenti's show, we have a very famous example from this year where the Lions won against I think it was the Falcons, in exhilarating fashion. It was time to talk about them, and Valenti huffed and puffed and said that. And again, listen, I understand if your team tank, that this might be your opinion, but you cannot dismiss the entire game by then saying that the Lions screwed themselves and then wanting to move on from that. Like that kind of crosses a line there. You have to be intellectually curious. You can't just say that you don't want to talk about it because that there's nothing to really talk about there. I mean, we've been guilty of a few times. We say that there's not a lot of meat on a bone sometimes on a game, but we still try to get into that bone. We still try to suck that marrow out, and we try to get you something out of it. Sometimes guys, like, they get stuck in their ways. They repeat the same phrases. It happens sometimes in sports radio. It's hard to do this thing every day. I talk to guys, and I'm around guys who have to do it 5 times a week. That's a lot of content. We do like 1, maybe 2 hours a week through all our podcasting. Those guys, they're putting in like 15, 20 hours a week on air.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, they can cover other teams and they can cover other sports, but sometimes like you just run out of things, man.
Sure.
And I get it. Sometimes you feel like you're kind of in Groundhog Day and repeating the same things too. But man, this business runs on you being intellectually curious. This business runs on you having something new to say at the end of the day. And if you don't have anything new to say, then get the fuck out of the business, because there's so many other people. Radio does not make a lot of money anymore. This is a business of passion. Everyone I meet who is in radio, they are not in radio for the money. If you want the money, you go to television. Guys who I meet in radio, they are in there because they fucking love radio. Because like me, some of them are usually people who were very antisocial, but then who got in front of a microphone and realized what a microphone can do to liberate their voices. And it's fucking great. And it breaks my heart sometimes because I see some of those guys who are sitting there. And this is why I'm passionate about it, because I see those guys sitting there for years and years on end who can't move up, because there are some guys who are just sitting on those seats until they literally just can't do it anymore. Radio is really fucking cool. I wouldn't be doing podcasts if I didn't love radio.
I think that might be a good place to end it, because I'm ready to start writing. I know Sunday Night Football's underway, and it looks like the Giants are off to an early lead. Oh no, they choked. What happened? Oh, they went for it on fourth. Did they fake a field goal? What happened? It was 4th and 5, and I'm looking at the box score, and it says field goal formation. Dixon pass incomplete. Was that a botched field goal, or did they fake it? Uncle Indigo reached 50K channel points. What does that get you? Anything yet?
I think Draw Play Dave says two tweets threaded. What the fuck was that? And then, oh right, Freddie Kitchens is calling plays today.
Oh boy.
Oh, no, he's on the yeah.
Yep. Oh, nothing. Doesn't
Big
give you
mad
anything.
out there.
All right. Yeah. Let's call it at that. Right now, tentatively scheduled. I have an interview that will be live streaming with a Dimitrov expert Tuesday night. I don't have a time settled quite yet. I can't give you a Goose cameo. Ruby cameo I potentially can give. Kicker through to a lineman.
I have an IOU, F9090. I have an IOU on that, but I can't. When he's like that over there, you guys can see him there, but I refuse to pick him up when he's like that. He is too comfy.
But yeah, Tuesday night. Be sure to look out for a notification. Hoping around 7:00, but I don't have a time set yet. We talked to a Dimitrov expert. Get a little
asking if he can be the Dimitrov expert.
You can watch, but no, I already have a reputable guy who's been on the Falcons beat for a long time. We're just setting up a time. We'll probably also talk a little bit about Scott Pioli since he's been there, or he was there for 6 of the past 7 or 8 years. So we'll talk about all that. We'll do maybe another podcast. Probably not because Christmas and all that. But then obviously Saturday games. So we'll do a Saturday post game, Saturday post podcast. Maybe it's Friday Christmas or is Thursday Christmas?
Friday's Christmas.
Do you guys want to do a Friday Madden Sim? I don't know. Chat. We'll talk about it after Tuesday's podcast. How about that? Come on Tuesday. Maybe we'll throw a vote our way if you want to do like a Christmas night Madden Sim, because I obviously don't want to do it in the morning while everyone's doing family stuff. But we'll see. We'll talk about it. But that'll be our schedule for the week, so be sure to hang out for us then. If you missed any of tonight's podcast, make sure to go and listen to it on our podcast feeds tomorrow morning. Please give us a review, a rating. I'm sick of seeing the 2 or 3 negative people that listen to one podcast and decide they're done. I want to hear from you guys, the people that come back every week. So please go over to Apple Podcast, drop a review, drop a rating, all that sort of stuff.
Folks, apparently that's all what people want to say is about me. So,
but no, I mean, we know we have a devoted Twitch following, devoted YouTube following. So if you guys are heard more, then we would appreciate that. That's all I got. All right, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday. Have a good night. Enjoy Sunday Night Football.